Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. It has been a busy day for myself. This is really the first time I've got to sit down and just kind of, even though I am doing something. I'm obviously making a video, but haven't really had much of a chance to sit down all morning. Got up early, making some content, had a couple of meetings this morning with some folks, just kind of the thing that I do, involving local community stuff. Made a big podcast, which I'm doing every week now. So if you want to hear that, this is audio. It's kind of a radio style. In fact, it is going to be on a radio station, but for right now, it's on Spotify and it's on Apple Podcasts, and you can go there and check it out. It's the Prepared Homestead podcast, but I just uploaded it this afternoon. Think it's a pretty good one. It's, getting a little bit better at it, but there's a small local radio station here in Missouri that's going to start airing that, and then they also air their stuff online, so it'll be on there too. And then doing this and just other things. It's just been nonstop. Kind of my brain's a little mush today. And it's been really hot, but a little bit ago, it started picking up some pretty decent wind. And every once in a while, we get a nice little burst of wind through here. So I'm hoping that means that the rain that they're forecasting for tomorrow might actually happen. Because they've been telling us for rain for a week now, and we've had a couple of little sprinkles, but everywhere around us, north, south, east, and west, at times have had just massive downpours and lots of rain, and we get a little sprinkle here and there. You can see this grass behind me. Look at this. I know that you're like, well, that's green. That's not. Well, I've had the sheep out here eating this, but the point is it's getting pretty dry. It's hard on the garden. And it's just hot and dry, but that's the world that we live in. Speaking of weather, this climate change stuff that they're talking about, have kind of a little bit of a gut feeling on it. Got bugs flying around my face. I probably doing good in that area. But anyways, the past week or so, they were talking about in the news how the past month of June was the hottest month on record for the whole planet. And then it was something like last week or the week before, it was just consecutive days of the hottest day on record, hottest day on record for the whole planet. So we had, according to the records, now I'm not going to sit here and debate whether it's actually true or not, but we're just going to go with the official story, that we had the hottest month on record ever, hottest June or whatever, and then several consecutive days of the hottest days. Then I saw that in Europe, they are now keeping a tally of all the climate-related deaths. And you can look them up online just like they did during the pandemic of all the deaths. And then also, Joe Biden ended up in Europe, over in England this past week, and because he's at the NATO thing right now. Well, he made a stop in England to go kiss the king's ring, kind of thing. And he and John Kerry and the King, Joe Biden, John Kerry, and the King of England, sat and they talked about all the climate emergencies and how bad it is. So I kind of have this feeling, because I'm starting to see little bits. Like it's not like it's all in our face right now, full steam ahead. But there seems to be a growing narrative right now. I mean, we've seen it all along, but it's like it's starting to increase when it comes to the climate stuff. We're seeing, talking about droughts all over the place and floods all over the place. The Midwest, Kansas and stuff, they're just dry as a bone, and the wheat production is destroyed pretty much for the state. Got a video from up in Nebraska This farmer that's plowing under his corn because between the drought and the damage from a hailstorm, there wasn't anything salvageable, not even for making silage. It was just, I guess it was, they lost less money by plowing it under than trying to, get silage out of it, kind of thing. I suspect, and this is just in my head, so it may mean nothing. I suspect that we're going to start seeing a climate change thing. I could actually see them doing, because they've said this. The World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab has said something like this, of them using the climate change stuff to enact pandemic-style lockdowns. We could see this whole smart city, 15-minute city thing really start to pick up speed. I suspect that's going to be a big one. That means that you're stuck in the neighborhood you live in. You can't go any more than what it would take to go 15 minutes from your house. I mean, that's a 15-minute area. And you're stuck there, and you can't go into the next town or even to the next neighborhood without some kind of permission. Everything that you need will be in that, but you just can't leave. You'll walk, you'll ride your bike, or maybe if you're lucky, you might have one of those little tiny electric vehicles. Not the ones that are breaking speed records like the Teslas, but the little tiny ones. The ones that'll get maybe 50, 60 miles per charge. If you're lucky, you might have one of those. Those things that come out of like China, those little joke of a vehicles. You'll get those kind of stuff. You'll be locked in. They're already trying to ban gas stoves. They've technically, in some ways, banned or greatly restricted wood-burning stoves, except for folks like myself and others around here. We just basically say we don't care. My wood stove is not some kind of new EPA compliant stove. In fact, my wood stove is actually older than me. I found a little date on it. It's older than me. I'm okay with that. It does a good job. It'll cook you in the wintertime. They do this kind of stuff, and it's being done for a purpose. It's being done for a purpose to make you think that this whole climate stuff is so bad that we have to get rid of all the combustible engines. We have to get rid of all the gas stoves and the wood stoves. Your lawnmowers, get rid of those. We got to stop growing food. Farming is bad. Cows are bad. Got to stop doing that. We got to start eating bugs and lab-grown meat, because that's the only way to save this planet. It's all baloney. If these people, and the vast majority of these people that are pushing this narrative, they live in these fancy beach houses all on the coasts. Do you think if they really believed that, they would live right on the coast? Did you see that one? It was at something at the NATO or some kind of conference summit in Europe, and it was some head of state or something. I don't know exactly. I didn't pay attention to that part of it. But basically, there was some kind of climate summit, and this person and one of the representatives there, of course, flew there on a private jet, got in a limo and a motorcade, and drove within just a couple of blocks of there, and got out and then rode a bicycle on the way in. Now that's been done before. That Pete Buttigieg or whatever. I think Joe Biden calls him booty juice. Now I'm not being gross and inappropriate. You go look it up. He calls him booty juice. Anyways, he's done that before too. But yeah, that's what they did. They guzzle the fuel flying in, guzzle the fuel in the motorcade, but then they got to look good in their little car, their little bicycle. Funny thing is folks like that would tell myself and many of you that we live a very not climate clean, not green life. I'm sitting here right now and I'm looking across my field. My house is way over there. I'm looking across my garden. I've got my chickens and my sheep, my goats, and we live in a small house, very tiny. We do a lot on our own, and we're not producing a lot of chemicals and a lot of carbon. I mean, we do have an old truck. I mean, that's all we got is just one old truck. Nothing else. And we would be told that we pollute. We're polluters. And you know why they tell us that? You know why this whole narrative is going on? It's because it's about control. It's absolutely about control. In fact, so many of these questions, they can't even answer them. Like, you know, how much CO2 is actually in the atmosphere, and then how much is actually good and how much is actually bad. What's too much? Because the way it is right now, the amount that's being put into the atmosphere seems to be making all the trees grow really good, because we're seeing places in South America and stuff have regrowth of forest, because guess what, folks? Trees and plants breathe CO2 and then they exhale oxygen. So it seems to be making things grow. Who knows? I often think that this climate stuff, it's not just being used to control us, to take from us. I think it's also possibly because they already know that we're in a cycle of change. They probably know if we're going to actually go through this pole reversal stuff that a lot of people talk about. It looks likely. They would probably know more than you or I do. And I think they're setting things up with this climate stuff to, like, oh, this is what's happened. It's all you bad little commoners' fault. You know, that's why you need us to rule over your lives even more. That's what I think is going to happen. And that's what all this climate stuff is doing, is just ruling over us. It's ridiculous. It's a joke. It's pathetic. These people wouldn't know how to do things on a minimal way if their life depended on it. You know, they have servants and big, huge homes and big vehicles. Can you imagine John Kerry coming out here and staying on my property and you know, living this life, or many of yours? It's a joke. They couldn't do it. They wouldn't know how. They gotta have too many servants sitting there putting their clothes on for them and wiping their hind ends. And these are the people that, you know, are telling us how to live. The thing is, it's been that way forever. You go back in the Middle Ages and ancient time, it was always these people. Same people, a lot of them same family and bloodlines, doing the same thing, because they think they have a duty, that they think they have a right to rule over us. I mean, maybe someday they'll find out, but they're wrong. And that's why we have to keep becoming as self-sufficient as possible. That's the thing that they hate the most, is folks like you and I being able to exist without them. We don't need them, folks. Quit believing that you need all of this stuff. Are things smoother? Are they more convenient? Is it a little nicer to have the nicer plush things? Yeah. I mean, I'm not an idiot. I'm going to admit to that. You know? Is it nicer riding in a brand new car than my 25-year-old truck? Yep. But I'm not tied down to any kind of banknote because of it. And I think a lot of people have bought into this narrative that, oh, you got to keep having the newest, biggest screen TV. Oh, you need a new phone every year. Oh, you need a new car every 2 years. Oh, you need a bigger and bigger and bigger house. What? 3,000 square foot? That's not big enough. And now it's 4,000. Just keep going bigger, 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 more expensive, nicer, fancier, more expensive, constantly. Constantly. And all it does is it enslaves us even more. And then they get to turn around and say, oh, it's because of all of you driving your brand new vehicles and living in your big, ginormous houses. That's why there's all this climate change. It's all your fault. Well, what about those of us that aren't playing in their game? What of us that said, you know what, I don't want none of this. I'm going to go over here and do my own thing. We're the ones they can't control. They hate it. And you know what? We should be more out of control. We should be more out of their control. We should be more self-sufficient to where we don't need them, because in the end we don't. All those things they provide, it just makes us feel good, but we don't need it. Many of our ancestors existed long before and for long periods of time without all of that. We can do the same thing. So don't get caught up in their baloney about climate change or about how you need to be controlled in this way or that way so that we can save everything. Just ignore them. Move on. Do your own thing. Form your own tribe. Be as self-sufficient as possible. And get yourself and your houses in order. You need to be, because things are getting crazy. Prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.